Hello again, everybody. Harry Boxer, the technical trader at techtrader.com. It's Saturday morning, 28th of January. This is the weekend webinar. Real successful week in Wall Street, I thought, technically, and a lot of the indices made substantial enough advances. In the case of the S&P 500, we moved from, let's see, the low was about 38.85. We got up to 40, just under 4,100, and there is resistance right there. So we're going to have to prove. The market has to prove itself by punching out and getting up. In the next target then would be 4,300, give or take 15 points, something of that nature. But if you look at the massive, let me remind everybody who's feeling very bearish in here, I don't care about fundamentals. The technicals will tell you what to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down, a massive reversal, a nice multiple wave move up. Resistance came in around the 4,100 range twice, and then it came down. It did a nice fib retracement of almost 50%. It held around 37.70, 37.64 change, and we're now up against resistance. So as you know, the next target, again, 4,300, we get through that with any kind of real energy, which may come after a pullback, we could see 4,500 or more. The NASDAQ 100, similarly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a reversal, but this one took a little bit because of the weakness of the tech stocks, needed more time to form a base and do a retest right there. That was 3 months later in January. The big reversal here was the key for me. Going that day from under 11,000 to 11,082, advancing about 85, 90 points, and that triggered that move, which got up to the moving averages. Notice that the moving averages crossed over here, and the stock just kept, the index kept moving through a triple, quadruple top area. And now we have a gap right there at 12,420, which is your next objective, to get not only up to that gap, but maybe even fill it to 12,752. So those will be potential targets going forward. But it's a beautiful looking base. One must admit it. If you look at all the tech stocks, and I'll show you some of the NASDAQ 100 generals, you'll see that substantial enough technical bases were built and moves have taken place that, to me, are extremely bullish. But we shall see. Friday, I thought, important breakout day. Look at the volume on NASDAQ itself here. This is one of the biggest volume days we've seen going back months. So an important breakout day with volume can't hurt. The transportation index has subsequently had broken out, same 5-wave decline, run up, nice retest. Now we've run up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times up in this area. We got to get to 14,750. If we do, 15,2 or thereabout would be the target for the transportation index, but they seem to be confirming, if not leading, what's going on in the other indices. Small caps, well, here's what they look like. They had a mini 5-wave decline here, bounced and then formed a larger base after retesting in September and October, ran up and then did a fib retracement of about a 0.618 there. But the recent breakout and a move up to clear resistance, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're right up against it and closed, let's see, 189.58. That's the highest close we've seen, and going way back to August, September. So for me, if we get any kind of follow through to the market on Monday, we could see this went up to 195 or even 200 to 1 or 2. So those indices are showing me some real metal and some solid breakouts. Very pleased with what I'm seeing technically with the leading indices. What do the underlying technicals look like? Well, first of all, the McClellan oscillator is not that overbought. It's plus 88, 87. So we can get up into the plus 200, 250 range before the market really needs to cool down, so to speak. The percentage of stocks participating now moving up to about 3/4 of all stocks over the 40, and the highest level of reading we've seen since back here in August, when it reached plus 81%. And we're almost there. It's at a level that we can stay there for a week or two, but and maybe do additional progress without having this index expand too much more. We'll see. The VIX continues to slip down to 18.5 from double that in the September-October period. And the lowest reading we've seen since January of last year. So this is getting to a point where if you get down in the mid to low, teens down here, you may, and you get the VIX up higher and the oscillator overbought. At that point, I could give you what I think might be more of a get out of Dodge type signal. We'll see. Not yet. At least I don't think so. As we always do, we look at the major components, and boy, you're going to be happy with what you see. Apple, after coming hard down from the August high, and it's traded at 176, trading to 124, losing 52 points. That's huge for that stock. In a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave decline. Obviously, it's selling climax down here that day when it tagged 124.17 and 112 million shares. Reversed and has moved up across not only the moving averages now and lateral price support, resistance, two of them, but now across the declining tops line. This is a clear breakout for me for Apple. And now I'm looking for it to get to 152 and 156.7, maybe more. We'll see. Amazon, clean breakout Friday. Now it was forming a base after having come down hard. Note that it popped up to resistance and backed off and flagged, but the moving averages had a chance to turn around. Now it's blown out through that level, but there is a big gap here, 104.85 area. And if we can get through that, we can get up into a gap filled towards 110.11, even higher. But that's a promising reversal through a declining tops line out of the flag above the moving averages for Amazon. But again, with lows and highs in the, for starters, 105 area, which we got to get to 105.6, then maybe we can have a much more substantial advance. What about Google? Well, it's run up to the declining tops line, not as strong as the others. For a while there, Google was quite strong, but right now, I need Google really to make a move over 102.5 and then take out 104.75. Once you get out through that resistance zone, you might have a real strong spurt in Google, which can trigger or help the market trigger a bigger rally. And notice that the moving averages on Google also crossed over as it crossed through the declining tops line with a breakaway gap and then a retest. Very impressive with that action, but I want to see some follow through. Microsoft. Well, broke out of a wedge here. It popped on Thursday. Friday wasn't much of a follow through because it's at resistance, I think, and it still hasn't taken out the major declining tops line, but it's a promising base pattern with a V bottom and then a retest. So let's just see what this wants to do. It does look like if it pushes forward through that zone, this could get up to 260.65 range. Netflix, because it had such a big run, kind of stalled in here for a few days, but it's right after declining tops line at the top of the channel. So it would be wouldn't be unusual for the stock to stall in this area, even pull back. But your next target is 390.92. Meta's really been acting great of late. There you go. First, the V bottom back in November, down in the 88.9 range. Then a rising surge with 1, 2, 3 gaps, and then this little wedge. Another wedge and another wedge, and then finally a breakout above that whole coil. And you can see the stair step move up to resistance around 136 before it broke through about 153 plus on Friday. That's the highest level since September. So if the angle changes on this one, it certainly looks like it might. I'm looking at that or that. Let's go with that for now. There's a potential angle and a target of maybe 165. NVIDIA, it's very strong. Semiconductor groups are very strong. This is a massive decline. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we'll call it. A V bottom reversal right there. Surge, got up to these multiple tops and backed off and did about a 50% fib retracement. But managed to come back above the moving averages. They crossed over. The stock has gone vertical. And NVIDIA has from 140 to 206 in about 3 weeks. Very nice. Timing's everything in stocks, right? It's right at, well, no, it's above the neckline. This is what I show for you. When you draw your line here. The neckline of the inverse head and shoulders was broken last week. Put your next target. 226.7, something like that. Pretty powerful move. But the monster of all monsters is Tesla. 101 and change to 180 and change, right at my target Remember yesterday when we were following this and the tracking stock, which is TSLL. TSLL went from 464 to 1078, about 125% in about 3 weeks. Took out the declining top sign. Is that lateral resistance here? You may have some difficulties, but the close was so strong on such strong volume, the momentum could carry this even as high as 12 or 13 before we pull back, which means that Tesla might make a run into that 200, 200, I have a target of 199 to 198 to 201 area. But with that kind of a run up, even if it does have a 1 or 2 momentum days further, it's very much due for a pullback consolidation. Be careful with Tesla. If you're trading it, make sure you got tight stops. So that's a look at some of the big boys, and there's quite a few others. Let's take a look at some of the ETFs on the groups we follow, mainly semiconductor, biotech, financials. Here's semiconductor. Very similar to what you see in NVIDIA. A massive decline, multiple waves down, reversal, run up, pull back, and out. This is the key level for me. You can see multiple bottoms and tops through here. And that pretty much comes in around 247.8. You get through that, we're looking at 258.60, and then this area up here at 285. So yeah, this is a beautiful chart. We can throw an AMD just to look at it, and you can see a long decline, but it does appear that after a run up and a pullback, it's right back up against resistance. There is a triple top in AMD. I want to point that out to you about 79. Stock's 75 and change, but it's flagging or wedging in here. If you can get AMD through 79, you might see it. Next target is 85.6, and then 890. So stay tuned. All right. We showed you the SMH. That's why I showed you AMD. Now, if I were Micron, similar. But that one has more of a long, multiple bottoms base and multiple tops resistance. So above 65, 5.5. I'm looking for Micron to make a move into the mid 70s. Just thought I'd throw that in as well. Okay. Now we're looking at the financials, the FAS. Similar pattern, almost an inverse head and shoulder, kind of like. Multiple waves down, a lower low with a massive reversal, a run up to resistance and a pullback and a 3-wave corrective. Held secondary support, held the trend line, and ran up. Now this is going to have to convince me over 88, 88.5. Once you do that, you're looking at mid 90s and 100 on FAS. That brings me to biotechs. You can see how reason why I like biotech so much is because for months when the market kept going down, they just went sideways and stalled. Now look, they had a big, big drop. You can see why they may have held up better. The XBI, for example, went from 175 down to 60 some odd, while the LABU got destroyed. I'll show you that in a moment. Here. LABU 185 down to 4. No kidding. 185.61. 406 low. After running up and tripling to 12 and change, it pulled back and platform for months. Right at the highest close we've seen on it in 3-4 months. So I'm looking for a biotech to break out in a big way, and maybe even next week. We shall see. So we got biotechs, financials, and semiconductors all looking very promising and bullish. We have a lot of stocks to talk about, but before we do that, a couple more ETFs, gold and silver. Well, gold needed a rest, and it's getting one. It pulled back. Take a look at the GDX and our swing on JNUG. Kind of regretting it. I think that when I say regretting it, could have waited and been more patient on it. Nevertheless, it's at the trend line, so I'm not overly negative about it. And right now, I can see this being a $59, $60 stock, currently $43.85, and maybe eventually 68 to 70. So, and then AGQ, the silver sector, also a little bit of a pullback towards support here. We need that one to hold 28.5, 29, but it's a large 2-month consolidation, and the next target is going to be mid 30s on AGQ for silver. SIL, another ETF for the silver sector. You can see inverse head and shoulder breakout, retest, and run up. resistance up there. So you can see why I might have pulled back. Your next target on SIL, 34 and 37. So I'm positive on gold and silver. What about oil? The tracking stock for you for oil, USO, is indefinite, meaning it's in a downtrend. Trying to form some sort of base or consolidation. I can't tell which it is yet. It might be a bear wedge. And if that cracks and rolls over, we got a $59 to $60 USO. Right now it's almost 70. The ETF for the double ETF for oil and gas production, the GUSH, also questionable as it bounces back to resistance and then reverse on Friday. So I'm going to change its pattern to look like this, make it more of a rising wedge. Might be a bear wedge. If that's a 1-2, check this out. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm saying that projection as for a 1-2 and down goes Frazier all the way back down to 110 on GUSH, currently at 160. That's a 50-point loss. I'm not saying short it. I am saying that if it doesn't break out and starts to roll over, something to consider. Okay. We're going to cover one other area first, gas. Natural gas boil. Really seen this quick a destruction from August high of 123 to, you ready for this? That's right, 733. Now, when this was 1011, I tried to put a swing on it at 1069 because I thought that might have been a bottoming pattern. Just goes to show you don't pick a bottom on something like that, even though this big volume on Thursday indicated a selling climax as it got to 733 on 70 million shares, the biggest ever, and then bounced Friday, but I'm not overly convinced. You really got to start to take out some prior highs. Let's just say if Boyle took out 1085 with energy, maybe you can start looking at 13 and 15. But for now, no sense in picking a bottom. And on the other side of the coin is KOLD. The KOLD has got Momo up the yin yang, as they say. Unbelievable. Look at this. I mean, it was just in November as low as 10 and change, and Thursday tagging 54 and change. So we're talking about 5-fold increase, and it only took 2 months. So this is extremely overbought, but momentum could carry to mid 60s or even low 70s. Wait for the reversal. For example, in the case of KOLD, you want to short it under 38.5. Yeah, I know it's 10 points above there, but at 38.5, you might see 28 or 30. Something in that zone would be my target if it cracks. All right, anyway, so that covers that. A lot of stocks to talk about. I am not going over shorts today. There's not enough time, but and I'm not a believer at this point yet, but I may put out a video midweek if I feel it's necessary. AEHR, well, what a winner it's been for us here and here. I think I may have put it out there, but I think it's only twice. Anyway, yeah, it was July, and again in October. So this is where we put it out, here and there. Anyway, we reached doubled from a low, sorry, more than double, it's 6-fold. It went from 6 and change to 36 and change, almost 37. So you can see the pullback on Friday. I would be a little cautious up here in that it's got, it's been extended. Even just in the last 3 weeks, it's got 100%, 1736. So if it blows through here, which would be an accelerated move, we could see it low to mid 40s or more. In the gold sector, AEM, one of the big ones, a beautiful rising channel, a little bit of a pullback, but they're all looking like that. AI, beautiful breakout on Friday. I wanted to point it out because it came on 18% on 24 million shares, and it's the kind of price volume surge breakout through price resistance and everything. The moving averages crossed over that could have momentum increase. I'd love to see a pullback consolidation in that area, and maybe then get a run up into that 22, 23 zone, my next target. AKRO, one of my top picks for the year, beautiful wedge forming, still looking for more higher prices in at least the low to mid 60s. And we showed you AMD earlier. AMLX, top pick in biotechs as well. Look at this. Beautiful consolidation, a breakout Tuesday. Kind of a stall the rest of the week to form a rising wedge. I got a target of 55 on this one. ANNX, another biotech stock that broke out and had a rising flag, is extremely bullish. Looking for a gap fill to get up to about 10 3/4 for starters. AOUT, when it broke out, we put a swing on it, then pulled back and it's coiled. I'm still bullish on it. Overall, that's a basing pattern, a breakout and a coiling consolidation. The next leg, if you measure this move, could be real dramatic. 3.5 points, 13 target, right about there. APCX breaks out of a base. This is a software stock with a beautiful chart. There's your base, breakout, wedge, extended wedge, breakout, mini wedge, and breakout again. Terrific chart. The gap is nearly filled. That'll take about a move to about 770, and then you're looking at 12. APPS, the stock we really liked here, and it was a big winner for us a couple years ago. I think it's broken out here and pulled back and retested here. Friday was a significant enough day. I'd like to see more volume, but 2.2 million, up 97 cents or almost 6%. Now your targets on apps are 20 and 24. ARRY, beautiful inverse head and shoulder breakout. We put a swing on it back in July, August. It then pulled back, tested the neckline, ran up to resistance, pulled back and tested the trend line, popped again. We're right near that. Your breakout targets at 27 and 33. Solar stock. Recent IPO, ATAT, has ripped from the pullback, initial pullback to 11, and they smoked it to 29.40. Now the pullback midweek shows a retest of the trend line. Don't know how far they can take this, but target could be 32. Pretty amazing momentum. Got to be careful though. AUPH, another biotech with a breakaway gap after a long decline. I saw this go from the low 30s down to 4. Breakaway gap, sharp run up, pull back to first support, and now right back up again to the highs. Next target, 12.5. BIND, breakaway gap on the software stock, a wedge. We put a swing on it and then ran to the first target and pulled back, breaking out again. Your targets now are 27.5 and 33.34. BBAI, a long decline, a massive, huge volume breakout, trading 112 million shares on a day when it went from 85 cents to as high as 3.85. Pull back sharply. It's coming on again here. Something to keep an eye on. Your target's 3 3/4, 4.5. BEAT with a monster run up in September that saw it go literally from 1 to 6 3/4, a 5.5 fold increase, and then a large wedge formed. Ran up again, made a lower high, higher low, typical of a coil. That's right near the apex. I'm just showing this to you because if it breaks out, it could smoke it. Targets 6 and 7. BILI, like many Chinese stocks, monster move off the October lows. This one going from 8 1/4 to 29.5, nearly 4-fold. And the 1, 2, 3, 4 here tells me the rising pattern or rising channel within a larger channel probably is looking for $32 target. Beyond Meat, well, after a nasty decline, that saw us go from, I kid you not, 200 to what, 25? Let's just go with this one. 221 to a low of 11.03. Well, it popped the resistance 4 or 5 times and finally broke out Friday. That's why I'm showing it to you. It's a clean, clear breakout day. Probably looking for 24 and 29 for extension targets on a swing. BYSI. Beyond Spring, large falling wedge, 28 to 50 cents, 55, then exploded to 3, pulled back in a wedge and is moving its way right back up to the targets. We get through that zone, you're looking at 3.5, 4.5, and 6. BuzzFeed, talk about big moves last week. 89 cents to 4 1/4, more than 4-fold in just a couple days, and it did it on, get this, Thursday, 203 million, and yet you think that's good, 233 million on Friday with another gain. Now, momentum can't get better than that. Where can it go to? I'll say there's a possibility they will make it up to 5.5 just on momentum alone. So watch it on Monday. But this is in need of a pullback consolidation. CABA is one of my top 20 picks. It's been on my list for months. It's gone from literally from half a buck to $12 and change, and it's in a beautiful rising channel within a larger channel. I can see the stock being 15, 19, 22, etc. Nice inverse head and shoulders being developed on Carnival Cruise Lines. I wanted to show it to you. When you get that long inverse head and shoulders, you usually can get a move of at least that level. So I'm talking about a move maybe to 14 and 17 as potential targets. Keep an eye on Carnival should it break out. CECO, love this chart. It's a tech traded swing when it broke out, and it's kept and then it ran up, consolidated, and popped again. Now it's flagging again. Here, my target is 19. CENX, with aluminum stocks firming, look at the inverse head and shoulders on Century Aluminum. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. And there's your breakaway through the neckline, which indicates 14.5 and 17.5, 18 as targets. Coinbase, nasty, nasty long-term decline. About 368 down to 32. From 32, though, it's doubled to 61, 62. And Friday was an important breakout day as it went out of that wedge and through the moving averages and trend lines. So for me now, I'm looking for 66 and 75. COSM exploded in November, 172 to 21 and change, no kidding. Then a nasty decline took it down to 3, but recently more than doubled to 765 or so. You can see if it can get to that level, we're looking at 9 and 10 and 11 again. Something to watch. COTY, long move from October when it was 6 and change all the way up to 10. Breaking out of its base there. Next target, 11. CPRX, one of my top 20 picks. I believe, I have to look at the list, but it did very well. But it got whacked, I believe, on a secondary or a bad earnings report. And I'm not sure what it was. Maybe an FDA turned out. But from 1841 to 1330 in one day, losing 5 points, that's nasty. So the bounce, not impressive. The volume, not impressive either. So it's the kind of stock that you have to look at these two things. If it doesn't hold there, it's probably going to there or there. So my question is can it stabilize a little bit and then pop it? But it's got to get above 18 to reestablish the trend. Right now it's broken. CPS, Cooper Standard Automotive Parts breakout wedge, and then really exploded on Friday. We did a nice day trade on it. Went 13.25 to 15.41 on Friday alone. Some resistance in this area, but actual target is now going to be 18 and 22. Cytomix, base, breakaway gap, flag, breakout, unable to follow through. I'm changing the pattern now to look like a wedge. Here it is. If it breaks out, 3.5 target, followed by 4.5. CTSH breaks out, we put a swing on it and then pulled back quickly to test, but ran right back up again. I like that chart. Looking for a retest and take out of 67.5, a move to 70 and 74. CBAC, large decline. I mean, big decline. We're talking quadruple, triple top, near 120 to 23 up in that area. Eventually, a year later, 560. But it certainly smoked it from 563 to 1279, more than 125%. Now we had that falling wedge, and then a pop, stalled, low volume ebb, and popped out. Up 3 days in a row, but nothing massive yet. If it gets to the 1280 area, this could be a $14, $16, $18 stock. Keep an eye on that one. Another biotech, Carvana, big pop breakaway move a week and a half ago, and then a wedge. But Friday was, I think, a convincing day for me, as it went from 633 to 809, finished 777 on 36 million shares of pickup in volume. You can see what it's got to get through to really get going. That would be 8.5. Then I am looking for 11.5, 12. Caesars, inverse head and shoulders developing here as well. Watch the neckline and resistance at 55. You get to that 65 and it's 78, 80 are target zones. Another Chinese play, Dada. Big move in a 5-wave advance, but the 5th wave rising flag is so bullish. I wanted to show it to you. Is it overbought? Yeah. Does it have phenomenal momentum? And are we looking for 17 and 22? Yep. Just keep an eye on support. DMTK, another large decline from a biotech stock that saw it go from 84 You got it, folks, to 155. And in the last month, 155 to 644, 300%. Now, after coming down for just one day, it's right back up to a new high. Very impressive. I think we can see this go to 8 and 9. EBON. This is, I believe, a Chinese aerospace manufacturer. It says computer systems, but we'll leave it at that. Large decline here. You can see it taking it right to the massive decline tops line and lateral price resistance. So this would be a natural consolidation, which it's doing. And notice the last week was a lower week on very low volume. I like the way that's held. As long as it holds 7.25, you're good. Target's 10.75, 12.5, and way up there near 18. EDU has been a tech traded swing for weeks now. Breaks out, runs up to target number 1, pulls back, breaks out above that and flags. Boy, is this look good. 50, 51, and 57.8 are targets. EGO or junior gold breaks out and runs up, and it's looking very good. Hardly even backed off, even on Friday when most golds did. It was down, what, 15 cents or 1.5%. My targets are 10.5, 12. EH. This is EHang. I'm sorry. EHang is a Chinese aerospace. EBang is different. That's computer systems. In any case, a massive decline on EH from 130 to 3 and change. The low is actually 332. It spiked though in December, wedged, popped, wedged, it popped again. So it looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth wave could take you to first 17.5 and then 22, 24. EHTH is a tech traded swing. It broke out. We put a swing on it. It coiled and then broke out and retested and then broke out again. And Friday was a great day for it. Up another 10%. Still targeting 8.5, 9.5, and 11. EPOW. Phenomenal fundamental story here. And you can see how it's been consolidating for months with a spike here and a spike there recently, even on Thursday. But I believe more news is coming, and I believe there's a lot more to this stock than meets the eye. 6, 7, 8, all targets for me. I'm not kidding, and this is a personal holding. That's how much I believe in it. We shall see. ETNB, another biotech with a beautiful chart, currently flagging, targets 17 and 21. EVH, tech period of swing when it broke out, now forming a beautiful bull wedge. I have a target at 33. 33.25. We get through that, we're looking at 37.8. Great looking chart. V bottom, right end of the extended platform. Retest, you know, for me, bullish. EXAS, large decline. Here's a stock that went from 160 to 30. And now it's in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave advance with a bull flag. I don't know if this bull flag can go further because it's a fifth wave consolidation, less reliable, but we often see that go up, and if it does, 75 target. EYPT, large decline as well, 20 to 2. Inverse head and shoulder breakout, and now wedge. Looks like a stock that could be 6, 7, or 8. FCX in the copper group breaks out, we put a swing on it, and worked its way higher, got to resistance, formed the coil, broke out, now consolidating again, targeting 50, 52. FDMT, a top 20 pig after exploding and then consolidating, continues to do so. It's a bit of a falling wedge in here. Friday it did manage to pop a buck or 5%. When it does go, 25, 30, and 36 are targets. FGEN, another beautiful biotech with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then a consolidation and then another pop. So if it should get over Thursday's high, 22.63, it could start to accelerate into mid and high 20s, even 30. Fluor, engineering construction. What a beautiful chart since the 20 low. Rising channel. New 52-week highs, targeting mid 40s, low 50s. Frequency, another big decline in a biotech that went from 58 to $1. One even. Then it popped to 2.5, coiled for 6 months, and broke out again. Now it's on its way. Although there is overhead resistance at 5.75, your next target is 7.5. First Solar, the leader in the industry, breakaway gap, which triggered the whole industry run. This one's gone from, you know, the high 50s, low 60s to the 181.85 area. The high being 180, 528. Well, after setting up a little coil here, it looked like it broke out Thursday and Friday. So once we get over 185, my target is near 200. GAN, this little low price puppy popped out. We put a swing on it and then consolidated. Had a big blocks crossing here, but last week was a great week for it. It literally went from 184 to 236, 50-cent pop, or about a 40% move. It's maybe 30%, but look at that angle of ascent. It's moving average crossing over. For a low price stock, this looks excellent. I'm now looking for a move to 3, 4, and 4 3/4. GDS, a tech trader swing, broke out, consolidated, popped, wedge, broke out again. Looks like 31, 35 are targets. Great chart. GDX, another gold ETF, which we showed you earlier. GNS, monster move. How about it started, let's just say it started here at 30 cents, but it really got going there at 42 cents. Nevertheless, in 5 days, 42 cents to $6. 15-fold increase and now a wedge. It doesn't mean it's done. It just means it maybe needs more time to digest. But I'll tell you what, if you see any pop out of it with big volume, we'll probably retest 6 and maybe go to 7, 8, or 9 or more. GOLD Barrick is one of my favorites in the gold sector. You can see why. Looking for 20, 21. GO2, another Chinese stock with a big move, 65 cents to 4 and change. Pull back sharply, but came right back to it. This thing gets over here, above 450. You might see 6, 7, and 8. This could be a powerful stock, and it's Chinese. Keep an eye on it. By the way, I didn't mention that EPAL and Seed, which we'll see later, are Chinese as well. HCM, Hutchison, nice rebound off the October lows, like many biotechs, from 739, and it tripled to 21 and change. In multiple waves up, and it doesn't look done. For me, your next target is 23. IMX, the tech traded swing when it broke out, then pulled back, tested, and ran up again and broke out again. So I'm really liking the way this looks. I got a target at 9 and 9 3/4. HLIT, beautiful base breakout flag, explosive move, long-term channel top, and then months to consolidate. Popped again and backed off again. Fill that gap. I like that. This has to get up through here. 15.5, I think gets you 17.5 and 20. HOWL, low price biotech, Werewolf Therapeutics pop. We put a swing on it and it ran up again. Resistance caused the pullback, but it's coming on again. And it gets you 4.5, 5 3/4, and 7 are targets. HROW, that's a tech trader top 20 pick. You can see why the stock's had a beautiful rising channel. Recently coiled, broke out, and pulled back in a wedge. I think it goes higher, 18 and 22 targets. Huya, another Chinese stock in a rising channel and a strong one with a target of 7.5 and 8.5. COSM, what a beautiful spike up move in December, then a large falling wedge. But it recovered in platform, now broke out. And this is why I'm showing it to you. On Friday, it jumped to $1.60 or 16%, but it was a key technical breakout. Right now, I think you may have a shot at 16 on it. IMMR breaks out of a base with a breakaway gap, runs up to strong resistance and pulls back, forms a beautiful wedge. You can see that if this stock does go again, my target's going to be 9.5 3/4. AMLX, another biotech with a fairly decent decline, not quite decent. How about 868 to a low of 68. Then it pop up to 2.5 and consolidating. Let it get to this level. I'm looking for a retest of 3.5 and then 5. IMVT, a tech trader top 20 pick. You can see why. Beautiful base breakout flag and then run up the channel. It's been still running. I'm targeting mid-20s. JNUG is my gold entry, although we just pulled back after the breakout, and I'd like to see it hold ideally 41 3/4 roughly. Targeting mid-50s and then 60. KOLD Therapeutics or pharmaceuticals. How about a move from 3.5 to 56.5 in a week? Yep, and finally you're going to get your 50% fib retracement, but it is bouncing off this level. However, there's resistance to 21.5 and 26. Those are your targets for next week. Lightsoft, that's KC, Chinese, I believe. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a fifth wave may be starting. So I'm looking for more upside, targeting 7. KDNY, beautiful top 20 pick as well. Broke out and it's been coiling or wedging above the recent highs, telling me that if it platforms well, your next targets are 29 and then 33, 34. KOLD we talked about earlier. LASE, laser photonics with a major breakaway gap and a rising channel. Doesn't look like it's done, does it? Although there is resistance ahead, I think $6 may be had. Lucid with a monster day Friday. I just wanted to show you the breakout. 207 million shares as rumors hit about a takeover. It went from 9 to almost 18, doubling intraday. There's your run up, halted 11 times, and then finally it came down and got slam dunked, which is normal for any stock that does that, especially when you see that kind of volume with it. However, a coil's developed. Was it bearish or bullish? We'll find out Monday. LU break after coming down big time from 20 to 1 and change from the base, broke out of flag. Look at the breakout Thursday. Looks like it's headed back to 3 3/4 and 4 3/4. MGNX, one of my swing picks. They're kind of meandering for 3 months now, so it needs to get going. Still within the rising channel. And if it does get going, last week's high of 646 is what you want to watch. Then you're looking at 7, 7.5, and 9. MLCO in a gaming group with a big breakout of a base, flag, pop, and another flag. This one can be mid to high teens, I think, soon. MODN, beautiful rising channel for now 8 to 9 months. Next target, 50. NEOG, been following a stock for a long time. A beautiful run up, did a split, not a reverse split, a regular split. Then it got hammered back from the high 40s down to under 10, right at that level, 1049. Ran up, platformed above the moving averages as they crossed over, and then ran up, and now it's flagging. This looks great. Looking for 24. NINE swing trade in the oil sector doesn't look done. The target is 17 and 21, but don't want to see it under 11 3/4. NIU in the Chinese automotive sector, big run up to resistance again, and now again, after holding support at 4.5, resistance is at 6. If you get through it, target is at 8. NanoString came out of a base, popped, I put a swing on it. It's been consolidating very beautifully. Now looking for 14.5 and 18. That's a tech trader swing. Oric, pop, rising flag, and then a pullback midweek, but it's stabilized. Still looking for 7.5 and 9. And Pan American Silver, my entry in the silver sector, looking for 21 and 24. PACB, nice recovery in the last 3 weeks after coming way down, spiking up in November to 1237, and then it pulled back down at 7 3/4. But boy, right back up to 1254, and then pull back retest. If it holds it right there, our targets are 14 and 18. Puma, nice little inverse head and shoulder breakout, and now platforming, consolidating for quite a bit. On Friday wasn't a great day for it, as it dropped back 4%, but if it manages to hold right about there, I can still call for this. Let me take that out. To break out of a wedge and run up to 6.5. Backside or PCVX, big breakaway gap, sharp run up, and a multi-month flag now telling me if it breaks out, you can see 55, 65, whatever. PDSB, well, it's one of my top 20 picks. It was doing well until it got slammed recently. Now, I don't like this 5-day flag, so caution, flag up for this one. I don't want to see it under 885 or so, because you're probably vulnerable to 790 and stopping out. Perion, outstanding, and I mean outstanding for 3 years now, 4 years. How about that chart? Breakout, breakout, and now apparently right up against this spike high from last year, the year before last. In November of 21, it hit 33.09. And it actually topped that and made a new, let's see, call it 8-year high. Perion targets are now in the low 40s, believe it or not. Keep your eye on this one. Impinge popped out, pulled back, we put a swing on it and made it to target number 1 and then backed off, but didn't really follow through it for a month until finally recently. A new high, 137.54, about a week ago, a little less than that, a few days ago, and now it's flagging. Next targets, 148, 165. PLRX popped out, wedge, and then consolidated, pulled back, held that gap, and then popped it from the flag, and then popped it from a wedge, and pretty strong pattern right here, targeting 43. Poet. IPO'd in March of last year, came down from the low teens to the 2.5 range, popped out, smoked it to 6.25, got a little flag for me. This may have some more to go. $7 target. Purple, been on my swing trade list for a while, broke out there, consolidated, popped again, wedged. Next target, 7.5. PRVB, been hanging for 6-7 weeks now in this range. I needed to break out over 10.75, and then you're looking at 12 and 15. Poseidon Therapeutics, I've been following. It's not on any of my lists, but boy, does it look strong. Although we're near resistance, if it does get through, we're looking at 10 and 12. Roblox was added back. I like the overall pattern. Falling wedge, popped to resistance, popped to resistance, popping again. Maybe a little bit of anticipatory, but if it gets to 38.25, you're looking at mid to high 40s. Rent the runway, exploded, wedge, popped, is now consolidating again in wave 4. The 5th wave should take it to 5 or even 5.75. Replimune, one of my top picks for the year, broke out early in the week, but then came down hard. I just need this to not break down underneath 24.5. Secondary support, 23.5. Targets, 32, 36. Mara and Riot both running. I wanted to just show you Mara. You can see the pop through the declining top sign and now a wedge on Riot. Mara, the same. Similar pattern. Keep an eye on them next week. Bitcoin's really rebounded. Roivant or Roivant, this stock is the top 20 pick. You can see why. Beautiful base, breakout, flag, pop, test, and breakout, top of the channel, pullback. Right now, $12 target, 12. Revance broke out 3 weeks ago out of a 3-month falling channel, breakaway gap on big volume. You know, a little pullback off the tops, and then went through it. Right now, you can see this is at a level we haven't seen since 2020 and 2018. Key resistance up here. It gets through, we're looking at 40. Rhythm, one of the best swings of the year. Well, I gave that to you at 5.75 in July, and by September, it was 30.98. Then it went sideways and did not break down. Right now, it's in a slow rising channel with resistance near 35. Through that, target's 42. Seed got a beautiful rebound from 6 back at 10 and 66 right to the triple top, and it pulled back. Now, the pullback is not on heavy volume, but I'm disappointed, particularly on Friday. This Friday's action, I was told there was one seller there that knocked it down. It's now under first support, key secondary support, 8.25, 8.30. My targets, 10.5, 12.25, and 14 personal position. SHOP, inverse head and shoulders, breakout, new swing, targeting 58 for starters. SOXL finally put a swing on an ETF for the semiconductor. There's a triple. If the semiconductors do what I think it can, this is a $19 stock. It's TIM, I believe it's the top 20 pick for the year. It's got a beautiful base breakout on platform. Any move above that level, we're looking at 8.25 and 9.5. Educational stock, it's Chinese educational stock, TAL, actually broke the channel there and has moved sideways. So I don't want it beneath this level. That's where you stop it, under 6.5. My targets are retest of 9.5 and then 12. TBLA, a tech traded swing, popped, coiled. I put a swing on it, and then coiled some more, broke out and set up a flag and broke out. And now it's wedging again. Looks great. It's gone from 240 to almost 4. My next target has to be right there at 4.25, 30. And once you get through that, you're looking at 5, 5.5. TERN, a top 20 pick as well, broke out. It's platforming now for a while. Got a beautiful coil, targeting 10.5, 13.5. Techno glass, the tech traded swing, broke out of the base, pulled back, but it's stair stepping its way higher in a choppy manner. My target's 41. TGTX, another biotech with a tremendous chart, one of my top picks. Way it looks now, I'm looking for 18 to 21 zone. THRX broke out of a long decline, went through resistance there. After wedging, it popped and wedged, now it's wedging again. Next target, 15. TMDX, another biotech or medical device company that looks great. Friday was a breakout day. I think there's no stopping this one. This could be 70, 80, 90, 75, 85, 95. TOST, a tech traded swing. I'm anticipating a breakout here a few days ago. It backed off and then ran. At resistance, targeting 25 and 30. Tesla, of course, we talked about earlier. The targets are now 198 to 201. Momentum is strong, but it's overbought. Under Armour, sneaky, but moving up. This one got crushed, 28 to 6, and now it's moving up beautifully, targeting 13.5, I believe 16. UCL with a big move, literally from 45 cents to 498, more than 10-fold increase from early October to mid-December. Then went into a wedge, but it broke out again. So now I'm looking for 7, 8.5. Viking Therapeutics, one of my top picks for the year. It looks great. Big breakaway gap, run up in coil. I like the look of this a lot. A breakout over 10 probably gets you 12, 13, maybe 14. Viridian, a top 20 pick as well, in a beautiful rising channel, looking for mid to high 40s, as well as VRNA, Verona, also coiling and looking for a run that breaks it out eventually and gets it to the low 30s. High 20s, low 30s are your targets there. VTYX, with an explosive move on Thursday and Friday, breaking it out to new highs. Might see that stock in low 50 soon. And W breaks out of a base, explodes, pulls back, and runs again. Great chart. This is a tech traded swing. My target's mid 70s. Weatherford's been in a phenomenal rising channel. It's taken it from 17 to the high 50s. Doesn't look done yet. I think 65, 67, something like that could be had. Wheat and precious metals in the silver group, up near the highest level we've seen in 8 months. My targets are 52 and 56.7. XPEV, a Chinese automotive play, which exploded, has been in a coiling pattern. I wanted to show it to you. It's starting to move again. My targets would be 13 and 15. XPOF, great looking chart, popped and broke out last week. This is a new all-time high. Now looking for 30. And Zillow, after a nasty decline, saw this one drop from over 200 down to 25.6, based out and broke out, and now it's flagging. This might see, low to mid 50s, and the same as ZG, same pattern, same company, different tracking stock. Zyme, ZYME is one of my top picks for the year. Love the way it's pat, rounding bottom, broke out. And this is a beautiful bull wedge. It's a tech traded swing as well as a long-term pick and the top 30 pick. And Zixi, well, we've been all over the stock since it was 6-7 range. Made it up to 17. It's now wedging. Next target, 18.5 and 22. And folks, that's going to be it for today. So look at all the technicals, the indices, the components, the ETFs, as well as a long list of longs. And I'm not going to be covering any shorts today. If you have any questions on any particular shorts at any time, please ask me. For now, this is HB out. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.